My name is Henry. I'm not the kind of guy who goes to wild parties or takes sudden trips to Las Vegas. I'm a planner. My life is built on being stable and making smart choices. I have a 5-year money plan, and I always put the most I can into my retirement fund. A great Friday night for me is getting a pizza and checking on my investments. I know it's not the most exciting life, but it's a safe one. My entire 20s were about saving and building a good life for myself. My ex-girlfriend Lisa was the exact opposite. Lisa was all about living in the moment. Her life was all about taking pictures at brunch, buying expensive bags, and going on weekend trips. I honestly thought we were a good match. I was the strong base, and she was the beautiful fun house built on top of it. It's a nice idea, right? The only problem was, I was the only one doing the building. We had been together for almost 2 years, living in an apartment that I paid for. Lisa worked part-time at a fancy clothing store. This was perfect for her because she got a big discount and just enough money for her social life. I took care of the rent, the bills, and our future. I didn't mind at the time. I loved her, and I really thought we were a team. I was just the one driving the bus while she was in the back, taking selfies. The real problem started with her car. Her old, beat-up car finally broke down completely, and a new car became her main goal. She didn't just want any car. She wanted a specific one, a shiny, white luxury SUV with a glass roof. It had a huge price tag, one meant for someone with a high salary, not a part-time job. For months, it was all she talked about. She would leave internet tabs open on my laptop showing the car's details. She would point them out on the street. "Isn't that our car, babe?" She would say. It was never my car. It was always our car. I wasn't stupid. I knew buying that car was a terrible financial decision, but Lisa wouldn't give up. The car became the final test of my love. If I truly loved her, I would find a way to get it for her. If I didn't, I was being cheap and not supportive. I got tired of the constant pressure, the little guilt trips, and the pouting. So I finally gave in. But I wasn't going to do it foolishly. If she wanted to live like a rich adult, she would have to take on some of the responsibility. Lisa's credit was terrible. A few maxed-out store cards and a history of late payments meant she couldn't get a loan for anything. My credit, on the other hand, was perfect. This was the base of my plan. I sat her down and made my offer. "All right, Lisa," I said. "You want the car. I get it. Here's the deal. I'm not buying it for you, but I will help. We'll go to the dealership. I'll put down a large payment to make the loan easy to handle. But the loan itself must be only in your name. You will be the only one responsible for the monthly payments and the insurance." She looked at me a bit confused. "But I can't get a loan by myself. My credit isn't good," she said. "I know," I replied. "That's where the down payment comes in. I'll put down $20,000. That's a big part of the cost. It will lower the amount you need to borrow and will make the bank much more likely to approve you, even with your credit score. This is the only way this works." Her eyes lit up. All she heard was $20,000, and that she could get the car. She didn't care about the details. She just wanted the prize. She hugged me, telling me I was the best boyfriend in the world. I just smiled. My plan was moving forward. A few days later, we were at a busy dealership in Chicago. The air smelled of new leather and excitement. Lisa was practically buzzing. I had already talked to the finance manager, a direct guy named Dave, and explained the situation. He seemed to appreciate my careful planning. When it was time for the paperwork, Dave led us into his office. "Okay, people," he said. "Standard procedure. Lisa, since you're the only person applying for the loan, most of this is for you." He slid the main loan application over to her. She started signing everything, her eyes lost in daydreams of her new car. While she was busy, I took a separate folder from my bag. "Lisa," I said, holding up a 2-page document. "This is just a simple private agreement for us. My lawyer wrote it. It just says that the $20,000 down payment I'm giving you is a personal loan from me to you for this car. It states that you are fully responsible for all payments and insurance, and that if we ever break up, the personal loan must be paid back right away. It's just to protect my money. Normal stuff." I handed her the document. She barely looked at it. Her mind was already on the road. Yeah, okay. "Whatever you need," she said, signing her name at the bottom without reading any of the small print. I signed my own name, took my copy, and put it back in my bag. An hour later, we were driving home in her brand new, shiny white SUV. She was thrilled, making videos for her social media and playing with all the buttons. I was quiet. I felt a strange sense of calm. The trap had been set. When we got back to our apartment, she was still excited, running her hands over the leather seats and admiring her reflection in the shiny paint. She picked up the folder with all the dealership papers. She was flipping through them with a huge, happy smile. She looked at the main loan document, the one with her name and only her name listed as the borrower. She looked up at me, her smile turning into a smug, mean smirk. "Good," she said, tapping the paper. "This will be useful when I leave you." The words just stayed in the air. It wasn't a joke. It was a confession. It was her plan. She thought she had just gotten a massive item, a luxury car that she believed I was responsible for. She thought she had tricked me. I looked her directly in the eye. My heart wasn't beating fast. I wasn't angry. I was just ready. "The paperwork will be—" "Yes," I said. I walked to my bag and pulled out my copy of the other document, the one she hadn't read. "You really should have read the small print, Lisa," I said, handing it to her. "This is the agreement you signed, the one that makes you 100% responsible for every single penny of this car, including the $20,000 personal loan from me that's due in full when we break up," which, by the way, just happened. I watched her read it. I watched the smug smirk disappear from her face. I watched her eyes get wide in horror as she understood what she had done. The beautiful new car wasn't a prize. It was a heavy weight, and she had just willingly tied it to her own leg. What happened right after I showed her the paper was pure, great chaos. Lisa's mind seemed to stop working. She went from a happy queen to a scared animal in about 30 seconds. "What is this?" she stammered, shaking the paper at me. "This isn't legal. You tricked me." "Tricked you?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "I gave you a document. I explained what it was, a personal loan agreement to protect my $20,000 investment. You signed it. A legal adult of a healthy mind signing a contract. It's the most legal thing in the world." Then she started screaming. It was a flood of angry words. I was a manipulative monster, a controlling psycho. She claimed I had planned this all along to trap her. I just stood there and let her yell until she was tired. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. The signed document in her hand was my only defense, and it was unbreakable. When she finally ran out of insults, she switched to crying. The big, fake tears that had always worked on me before. "How could you do this to me, Jack?" she cried. "I thought you loved me." "I did," I said, and it was true. "But love needs respect. And you showed me exactly how much you respect me. When you looked at that loan agreement and saw it as a way to leave me, you didn't see a future with me. You saw something you could take with you. I just made sure you'd have to pay for it." The crying stopped. The full weight of her situation was starting to hit her. The car payment was over $800 a month. The insurance for a new luxury car with her bad credit history was another $400. That's $1,200 a month. Her take-home pay from her part-time job was barely $1,500, and that didn't even include the $20,000 personal loan she now owed me. She spent the rest of the night making frantic phone calls. First, she called the dealership. The finance manager, Dave, calmly explained to her that the deal was done. The contracts were signed and the car was legally hers. Then she called the bank. They told her the same thing. The loan was approved, it was in her name, and her first payment was due in 30 days. The next day, she tried a new plan. She called her parents. I was in the other room packing my things, but I could hear her side of the conversation. She was telling a crazy story about how I had forced her to buy the car, how I had trapped her in debt, and how I was trying to ruin her life. I decided to get ahead of the angry phone call from her father. I found his email address and sent him a short professional message. "Mr. Henderson," I wrote, "I'm sure you're hearing a very dramatic story from Lisa right now. I just wanted to give you the facts. Lisa really wanted a car that she couldn't afford. I agreed to help by giving her a large down payment. To protect my money, I had a standard personal loan agreement written up, which she read and signed. The car loan from the bank is only in her name, as she also agreed. Yesterday, right after the purchase, she told me that she saw the car as something she could use when she eventually left me. Because of this, I have ended the relationship. I've attached a copy of the personal loan agreement she signed for you to look at. I'm sorry it came to this. I attached a scanned PDF of the agreement. I knew her father owned a small business. He understood contracts. He understood being responsible. I never got a call from him. But about an hour later, I heard Lisa screaming into her phone again. What do you mean you're not going to help me? Dad, he tricked me. It's not my fault. It seemed her last hope had fallen apart. I finished packing my personal items. I had already found a new apartment to move into. I wasn't going to kick her out of the one we shared. That would be too messy. Instead, I was just going to leave. But not before making one last change. I called the utility companies and the internet provider. I told them I was moving out and closing my accounts. If Lisa wanted to have electricity, water, or Wi-Fi, she would have to get them herself with her own credit score. I left that evening. I left her a note on the counter with a copy of the signed agreement and a payment schedule for the $20,000 she owed me. As I walked out of the apartment for the last time, I took a look at the shiny white SUV in the parking lot. It looked like a symbol of bad decisions, and it was all hers. It's been a few months since. I walked out of that apartment and left Lisa to her new life of financial responsibility. The silence from her has been total, but the information that has come back to me from friends has been amazing. The first month was, by all accounts, a state of total disbelief for her. She kept driving the car and posting pictures of it on Instagram. She was trying to act like a successful, independent woman who was doing well after her breakup. But behind the scenes, the money problems were starting. The first car payment was due. She apparently called me from a blocked number, leaving a tearful, rambling message, begging me to just make this one payment for her, promising she would figure it out later. I deleted the message without a second thought. She missed the payment. Then the other bills started to pile up. The apartment she was living in was now her responsibility alone. The rent was due. The new utility account she had to set up with her bad credit needed large security deposits that she didn't have. She was drowning. She tried to sell the car, but she already owed more on the loan than the car was worth. The car lost value the second she drove it off the lot. She owed the bank far more than any dealer would offer her for it. Selling it would mean writing a huge check she couldn't cash. She was trapped. The plan to make me look bad didn't last long and didn't work. She told her friends that I was a monster who had given her debt, but her story had a big problem. She was still driving the $60,000 car. It's hard to be the victim when you're driving around in a luxury SUV. A few of our friends actually reached out to me, and I calmly explained the situation, even showing one of them a copy of the agreement she had signed. The story quickly changed from he trapped her to she made her own problem. Now she has to deal with it. The best part came from her parents. Her mother apparently called my mother to try and argue for her daughter. My mom, who is a sweet woman but very strong, listened patiently and then said, "It sounds to me like your daughter tried to take advantage of my son's kindness. And for the first time in her life, it didn't work. This is not his problem to solve." The talk ended there. The second car payment was due. She missed that one too. The bank's calls became constant. The letters changed from friendly reminders to serious warnings. Her credit score, already bad, was now completely destroyed. The shiny car was no longer a status symbol. It was a cause of constant, crippling anxiety. She stopped driving it as much, probably because she couldn't afford the gas. The social media posts stopped. The perfect image was falling apart. I didn't feel any guilt. I felt a deep sense of relief. Every late payment notice she got was a result of her own words and her own intentions. She had seen my kindness as a weakness to be used. She had seen our relationship as a way to get money. I hadn't trapped her. I had simply given her the bill for her own character. The end of the story came exactly 93 days after I left our old apartment. It happened just as I knew it would, in the form of a tow truck. A friend of mine who lived in the same apartment building as Lisa sent me a text on a Tuesday morning. It was a picture. It showed the shiny white SUV being hooked up to a tow truck, its front wheels lifted shamefully off the ground. The caption on the text was simple: "Justice is served." After 3 missed payments, the bank had finally started the repossession. The symbol of her arrogance and dishonesty was being taken away in the middle of the day, for all her neighbors to see. The financial damage for her has been terrible. A repossession is one of the worst things that can happen to a credit report. It's a big red flag that says irresponsible with money. She won't be able to get a loan for anything for the next 7 to 10 years. And it gets worse. The bank will sell the car at an auction for a lot less than what she owes. They will then sue her for the rest of the money, which will likely be tens of thousands of dollars. On top of that, she still owes me the $20,000 for the down payment, a debt for which my lawyer has already sent a formal letter asking for payment. She is financially ruined, in a hole so deep it will take her 10 years to get out of, if she ever does. I heard she had to leave the apartment. She couldn't afford it. She broke the lease, which caused even more fees and fines. She lost her job at the store because her life was too chaotic. She moved back in with her parents. A woman in her late 20s with no car, no job, no savings, and a ruined credit score. My life, on the other hand, has been peaceful. I moved into a new place that is completely my own. I've been focusing on my work and my investments. The $20,000 I'd put down on that car is a lost. Cost a lesson learned. But it was the best money I have ever spent. It was the price of my freedom. It was the cost of getting a toxic person out of my life before she could do any more harm. She looked at the paperwork for a luxury car and saw a tool she could use to leave me. I looked at the same situation and saw a chance to teach her a lesson about responsibility. I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I simply used a contract. I used the cold, hard logic of finance to protect myself. She thought she was playing a game of hearts, but I was playing chess. And the final move was checkmate. The paperwork was useful, just not in the way she had planned.